the Buffalo Nerd Sports Podcast, where we talk history of the game, numbers, and stats. And each week we highlight a charity that's doing good. If you haven't subscribed yet, then you should, because I'm this the real deal. And you know I gotta shout out the Buffalo Bills. Turn it up to the max, sit back and relax. This the Buffalo Nerd Sports Podcast. Let go.
Hey, what is up, BillsMafia? Welcome into this episode of the Buffalo Nerd, your home for Buffalo Bills football with a charity on top. Brought to you by SB Nation on the Buffalo Rumblings podcast network and presented live by Picasso's Pizza on the Buffalo Rumblings vidcast network. I'm your host, Colt Schroeder. If this is your first time listening in, thanks for stopping by. If you're already part of the Nerd Mafia, welcome home. As you can see, I have a guest with me this week. I'm super stoked to hang out with fellow Bills Mafia. I got Adam Pfeifer of the FTN Fantasy Network. He's a senior writer over there, does some podcasts, puts out a lot of good work. Adam's been on the show before. Super excited to chat with him. Adam, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks again for having me. Always fun to talk Bills, especially this time of year where training camps have started. So, yeah, it's definitely, as we get into the month of August, it's definitely a very exciting time. So I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man, I'm super stoked that we can carve out a little time. Everybody and their brother is amped up this week. You know, the hype's everywhere already. We got 4 days in and we're ready to burn up the world. So I'm super excited to chat a little bit, get your opinion on some things, both live football and fantasy. But before we do that, we do like to highlight a charity every week on the show. Adam gets to choose the charity as the guest. So Adam actually chose the Hunter Henry Foundation. Is that correct?
Hayden Hurst Foundation.
The Hayden Hurst Foundation. I got to help myself. Thinking tight ends on my mind right now. So we're going to highlight the Hayden Hurst Foundation. So Adam, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about why you chose them?
Yeah, so last time I was on this podcast, I chose Mental Health of America. So mental health awareness is something very, very important to me. So I definitely want to stay in that realm. And the Hayden Hurst Foundation, it's just, anytime I see a professional athlete or anybody, but especially a professional athlete, kind of come out and talk about, issues and past experiences of mental health and try to really make it, more of a talking point. Like, that's something I always gravitate towards because it's very important to me. So I wanted to choose the Hayden Hurst Foundation, which, it focuses on mental health. Hayden Hurst has had experiences in the past that's helped him get to where he is today, and he's had his issues and struggles, and he's battled through it, and now he's trying to help millions of people out there who have had similar struggles with mental health. And there's a ton of events that he has scheduled and stuff, and ways to support and donate for mental health awareness. So for me, it was kind of a no-brainer to choose the Hayden Hurst Foundation.
Yeah, not the Hunter Henry one, even though he may have one in fact too. We'll look that up at some point and find out for sure. But yeah, very cool organization. Mental health is obviously, it's really come to the forefront, in the NFL last year. This year, it's great to see, a lot of players getting able to come out and kind of, tell their truths, about what's really taking place and how hard it is, to actually, succeed in the NFL, let alone with everything else that could possibly be going on. Right. So very cool organization. You guys saw everything's down in the notes. You guys can click over to them and, find out more about the organization. So let's chat a little football, because Kyler Murray's all over the place. He signs his big contract. Then we find out that he doesn't like film. So they had to put this clause in there and this, that, and the other. He comes out today. So meanwhile, though, in Buffalo, we have a phenomenal quarterback that we already paid, right? We're not having to deal with any of this drama. So it's beautiful. But where are you on Josh Allen? Is he the best quarterback in the NFL? Is he the best quarterback in fantasy? Where do you stand on him right now?
So he's definitely the best quarterback in fantasy. He's been the QB1 each of the last 2 seasons. I think it's 1A, 1B with him and Mahomes. If you think Mahomes is better, I totally get it. But there's obviously some bias here. So I think you make the case Josh is the most talented player in the league right now. Just what he does on a weekly basis. But for me, it's 1B, 1A for Mahomes or Josh Allen. But in fantasy, it's without a question he's the best quarterback with the ability to do everything in terms of throwing down the field. We've seen him improve in terms of the intermediate passing when teams go too high safeties against Buffalo. And then obviously, when he has his number called inside the 5-yard line, pretty much unstoppable. So again, I struggle with it because I don't want to be too biased, but I think at worst he's the 1B in terms of best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar situation. I think there's some guys up there, and I think you could go either way, right? If you wanted to take it like, well, let's talk wins, let's talk Super Bowls, let's talk that kind of stuff. Like, obviously, he doesn't have those things, right? But he's been on a kind of a different trajectory than Mahomes. Like, I feel they're kind of meeting at a point right now where Josh is up and Mahomes is trending maybe a little bit down. But that's it. All is kind of around the team, right? It's all about the team around them as well. And this will be the first year that Mahomes is going to have to play without one of his true studs that he's had and he's been accustomed to. Meanwhile, Josh Allen is improving everybody around him, right? So I think that he's definitely fantasy QB1. I don't know if you're Scott Fishbowl, but I am in the Scott Fishbowl, and I had the 3 pick, and I was hoping that it was going to be Herbert, and Herbert went 2. And so I sat there and talked to myself, I'm going to have to take Patrick Mahomes right now. And I do not want to do this, right? Like so disappointed. But I think I'm with you on that.
Well, I had to take Brady, and it's like, as Bills fans, we love Brady now. He's awesome. He's fun.
Yeah, he's cool.
And we don't have to play him. I mean, we'll play him this year. We played him last year too, but like, it's not as painful to draft Tom Brady in fantasy for Bills fans. So it's fun.
Yeah, right. I know. Speaking of like the Kansas City thing, I know their back end is missing heavily, right? They kind of revamped their back end. So I want to ask you, where are you at on the Jordan Poyer situation? Are you like going to think that the Bills are going to be a different team without him? Do you think we get it worked out? Is he long-term a Bill? Where are you at?
I think they get it worked out. I don't think they'll be the same without him because it's just now starting to finally surface for a lot of people, but the Bills have the best safety duo in the NFL, and it's not even close. So like Poyer and Micah Hyde together, they've helped because the Bills haven't had a number 2 corner that's been fantastic opposite Trey White. Levi's been pretty good in terms of run stopping when he's been here, but like that's kind of helped with that too. Like hopefully Kyrie Elam emerges as a rookie. We love Taron Johnson in the slot, and Dane Jackson's been good, but like that's also helped when you have Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer to help make up for that. So I don't know like if he's a long-term Bill because they still have Tremaine Edmonds' contract is coming up, Dawson Knox is coming up. I'm just glad that Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs are good to go. Like at some point those contracts are going to look fantastic for Buffalo. The Josh Allen one already is. I mean, By the time Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow get paid, Josh Allen might be like the 7th highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. I was thinking about that when they first signed that Mahomes deal for 10 years. I was like, this is ridiculous. In 5 years, he could be like the 12th highest paid quarterback, right? So when Josh's deal was at 5 years, I'm like, that just shows I really appreciate everything that he does and the way that he approaches
Happy
things.
Belated, by the way.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So I mean, it's just one of those things that, like, to me, Bean has always been good at these types of things. And so for me, that's the solidifying fact of how we're going to be good long-term, right? Is making those decisions and seeing those things. So it's very cool. I'm on the same page with you though. I think if Poyer leaves, it's going to hurt, but I'm not sure it's going to be a long-term thing either.
I thought they were going to go safety at some point in the draft because there was a lot of like hybrid safety / slot corners that they could have drafted. But yeah, like it's not like Poyer and Micah Hyde are exactly young, which is kind of puts a little bit more pressure on the Bills to do what they should do this year and hopefully go win a Super Bowl. But the presence of Poyer and Micah Hyde in the back end like can't be overstated enough. They are so crucial to what the Bills do defensively.
Yeah, I mean they're phenomenal, dude. You just listening to like Hyde's press conferences and stuff. He's just, he's so calm, cool, collected. It's just play football, do what you're supposed to do. It's a beautiful thing to watch and listen to our guys talk like that now after years and years of just being like, they're like, we don't know, new coach, new system, new coach, right. New system, it's like not anymore. So super exciting. So I kind of mentioned a little bit at the beginning, it's hype right now, right? Everybody's stoked. All the camps are filing in. People are everywhere. Josh is dropping dimes on day 4. It's, everything's great. The wide receiver room's looking good so far. The backfield is looking good so far. I want your opinion on this backfield. Where do you think this is going to shake out? Who's kind of your player if you're going to pick one of these guys that you're like for the fantasy world, who you're going to live with, but just kind of in terms of it, who do you really like in this backfield?
So anybody that follows me on Twitter knows I am I want to say I'm one of the largest Devin Singletary fans out there. Just always have been. I think he's incredibly underrated just between the tackles and everything. He's definitely been underwhelming as a pass catcher in his career. But Devin Singletary, you look at a lot of the advanced metrics, like he's been top 15 in elusive rate, top 15 in broken tackles. Like he's good. Now, the reason why a lot of people sleep on him in fantasy is because Josh Allen scores a lot of rushing touchdowns. The Bills throw so much. Down the stretch last season, Singletary was scoring those touchdowns, and they were giving him goal line carries the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. He clearly was solidified as the number one, as Zach Moss is a healthy scratch more often than not down the stretch. Now, the Bills clearly made a concerted effort to add a pass catching running back. They almost had J.D. McKissick. And I read today that Chase Edmonds almost signed with Buffalo. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that.
Right. So, like, they were clearly trying to make an effort to add a more of a pass catching running back. And I think a lot of that is because Buffalo was 32nd in the NFL in yards after the catch per completion last year. So they didn't do much after the catch. That's where James Cook's going to come in, especially when teams are playing a lot of too high looks against Buffalo, where Josh will just take the check down to James Cook. He's also going to play out in the slot and out wide. Like, they are very high on him in that regard. But, like, I don't think he's going to get 100 carries. And there's been some reports about Zach Moss getting some opportunities in camp so far. But, like, I comfortably believe Singletary is getting most of the first and second down and the goal line work. And James Cook will be using the 2-minute drill on third downs. And there might even be some snaps where they're out there together, where James Cook is in the slot, or where like James Cook starts in the backfield and they motion him out wide, and all of a sudden you have 5 wide against the team. So it's more of a versatility thing with Buffalo. I think Devin Singletary still is like an incredibly underrated running back. Will he be back next year? I don't know, but for this year, like I still think he's going to be once again. You know, the offensive line, Buffalo's offensive line the last couple of years has been like right around league average. You know, they're going to have Spencer Brown, Ryan Bates in a larger role this season. They added Roger Saffold. So, like, I think they'll be, like, league average, like 12 to 15. But Singletary's been running behind a league average offensive line his career, and he's been very, very efficient. So, in PPR leagues, like, it makes sense to lean James Cook because he's going to, I would expect to catch more passes. But I still think Singletary is going to have a really underrated year once again. I'm the number one fan of Devin Singletary.
Yeah, I mean, and he falls way down boards for what is deemed to be a number one running back, realistically.
He goes outside
right?
the top. He goes close to, like, RB 35, so...
Yeah, and I agree with you. The way he came down the stretch, if he can do that again, even something close to that, he should be here probably long term, and he'll probably get to stay here a little long term, or at least get another deal, because they've shown that they're okay with the backfield being a little bit of a mess. You know, like they're not. It doesn't have to be perfect for the way that it functions right now, right? And I do agree. I saw the same stuff. Ken Dorsey was just, you know, chatting up a lot about the yards after catch. You know, it's a big press. They've been pushing it a lot, even if it's just falling forward for a yard, right? That's yards after the catch, right? So that they're stressing even that stuff. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I think Cook might not see the field as much as a lot of people are hoping he's going to see the field, just because we tend to like to have veteran players out there. But if we need him, and I agree, he's going to be the 2-minute guy, that kind of stuff.
We haven't seen him in like pass pro and camp yet, right? Which
Yep.
is obviously going to be massive. So that's what I'm definitely looking for. But I love the move for the Bills, because, like, again, when teams are playing, the defense are playing against Buffalo, like, you need players. Like, Cole Beasley didn't do anything after the catch. As great as Stephon Diggs is, he's not exactly elite after the catch. He's elite, but like that's not his skill set. And Gabe Davis, we've seen him as kind of a down the field option so far in his career. He's obviously going to play a larger role. And that's why I think Isaiah McKenzie also, you know, Crowder's been not practicing, but I think that's why McKenzie's right now, like, even if Crowder was healthy, I think McKenzie would still be getting the first crack at the slot receiver job, just because more stuff after the catch.
Yeah, I'm glad we're kind of heading in that direction, because the wide receiver room, to me, I've been seeing a lot of different stuff that, you know, with McKenzie kind of shooting and rocketing up the, you know, the way that he is. But I think he was going to do that already. I anticipated he was going to do that already. I think he's a high quality player. You know, they got him at a good amount of money. They just have never fully needed him to be a specific role, right? You know, and I think that's kind of what's kept him to where he is right now. I'm a Crowder fan. I do think that he's going to have a good season for us. I've seen some chatter that this might not have him land on this roster. I don't think that's a possibility at all. He was brought in here for a reason, and he's going to stick to this roster no matter what. And I think this is the first year that we're going to see probably a heavy kind of senior roster, because I'm leaning Tavon Austin right now too to make this roster. I just think there's something about bringing in those veteran players that still are looking for something and pairing them up with a guy like Josh Allen, that you're going to get the best that they're going to potentially have ever for you for at least a year. So are you on board with anybody else in this wide receiver room? I mean, I think Gabe Davis he's gonna play well this season. I don't think it's gonna be maybe like as huge as everybody wants it to be, but he's gonna be a vital role. Diggs is gonna Diggs, but then there's the mix. Where are you on the mix?
Yeah, so first of all, real quick, Gabe Davis is like literally the most polarizing player in fantasy, and it's crazy. I'm all in on Gabriel Davis. Like, all he's done is produce when he's gotten opportunities. So he's going to play career high in snaps. He was talking about it in his press conference the other day. He's like, he's been preparing. That's why he's been working so hard all offseason. He said he didn't take any vacations, like because he's preparing to play the most he's ever played. And then, yeah, so the top two solidified. I've always liked McKenzie. We saw the game he played against New England last season where he just man coverage, like crossing routes, like they just couldn't guard him. And then Crowder came in to play the Beasley role, and like he's, in my opinion, if Crowder's healthy, he can match what Cole Beasley did for us. Like, I think I don't think Cole Beasley's I don't think the gap in terms of skill between the two is massive if there is a gap at all. So we just got to keep seeing who, like, I think they're going to use like all three of them though, like because you want to give defenses so many different looks. But we're also probably going to see more 2 tight end sets this season with OJ Howard there. So it's going to be fun to watch. And I think that even though Brian Daboll is not there anymore, I think the offense will stay relatively the same because Ken Dorsey's in-house. So it's not like they hired somebody from another team. But yeah, like I don't know if they're going to be weekly for fantasy that you're going to trust, but like for the Bills, like it's going to be really nice compliments to what, Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis will do.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. The Bills, to me, like they did this last year too. They fall into one of those teams that, because you typically in fantasy, right, you're trying to find high-powered offenses, right? That's where you want to live your life because they're scoring. But the Bills are kind of like one of those high-powered offenses that you just never necessarily know where it's going to go. So unless you have like Josh Allen, it could kind of be a flip of a coin. I mean, Diggs could have an off day. He could. I mean, Gabe Davis could put up 5 touchdowns. So it's very interesting to see. I have been on board all offseason that Crowder could put up 100 catches in that role, if he's on the field enough and he can stay healthy enough, obviously, right? But I think the rookies this season, even though they could be there, aren't going to necessarily have the impact this year that, like I think the Shakir of the world is going to kind of live the Gabe Davis life like he did year one, and he's going to be more of a year 2 kind of guy probably unless, guys start dropping.
Yeah. And like, he's been impressing so far in camp, but like, I feel like most players are at this point. It's very early, but yeah, like I think if you're like doing drafts now, like you have to be moving Isaiah McKenzie up just because like you said, like, they brought him back, they extended him, and he's making right around the same amount of money, I believe, as Jamison Crowder. So, like, 27 years old, he knows the system. He's been in the offense. He's obviously been more on special teams, but like they also, and maybe it changed with Brian Daboll gone, I don't know, but they've used him a lot in pre-snap motion and jet sweeps and those quick touch passes where he gets 9 yards and it looks like he's going to get 3 yards, and all of a sudden it's a first down. So, I think Davis is in for an obvious career season. Stephon Diggs is going to contend for the league lead in receptions probably and all those targets and numbers, and everybody else will play a role, and like James Cook's probably going to play a lot of receiver, right? He's going to play out wide a little bit, he's going to play in the slot. So the Brandon Beane and the Bills clearly made an effort to get more after the catch, which is what we've seen from a lot of the signings and moves they made.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like this is you have to 4 or 5 of these guys should be on the field at wideout every time, right? You have a hard time not being like, yeah, why wouldn't you do that?
And they go 3 wide as much as any team in the league. So, like, I think they're like 71% of the time last season. Again, Brian Daboll's gone, but like I still think they're going to go 3 wide a lot, 4 wide a decent amount. And that means, Davis is already going to be on the field with Stephon Diggs, but then you're going to see, Crowder and maybe James Cook or Crowder and Isaiah McKenzie. So, and I saw reports from Bills camp that like Crowder, when he's been on the field, like a lot of the slot receivers are playing even out wide on the outside. So, like, yeah. It's going to be fun to watch where all these players are lining up because, like, there's not going to be one specific spot where it's like, okay, he has to play here.
Yeah, to me, I agree with you on this, that I don't think we're going to change the offense much, right? I think because at this point, it's like people know what we're going to do, right? It's just a matter of can you stop us or not? Because right now you're proving you can't. So why would we change what we're doing? But I do think this would be a nice wrinkle if they could start shuffling guys around, and then we can still run the same stuff, right? But it's different people running it against different people and getting different looks. And I think that's the kind of wrinkles that we'll see this season. We'll see some wrinkles probably in the way that we run the ball. But it's not going to be like a crazy overhaul by any means, I don't think, especially with Dorsey being there. So let me roll into this next little set of guys, because there's going to be this point in the offseason where Tremaine Edmonds is going to have to be paid, and then Dawson Knox is potentially going to have to be paid. Where are you with Dawson Knox? Is he like somebody you're like, I don't want to let him leave Buffalo? If I'm giving you money, would you pay him over Tremaine? Would you pay Tremaine and let Knox walk? I mean, I'm kind of on board with the whole thought process of, what if this is like a Brady Gronk type thing, a Kelsey Mahomes type of thing, right? Where like this is long term. Where are you?
Well, my thing with Dawson Knox is I was already really intrigued when Buffalo drafted him. That was the Singletary year, correct? They drafted Singletary and Knox. I was already intrigued by him as a player, and then we obviously saw him break out mainly in the touchdown department last season. And remember, like his first 2 years, it was like Knox would make a ridiculous one-handed catch and then he'd drop an easy pass. It was really strange, and then he became more consistent last season and scored the touchdowns. For me, like, and I talk about this in some of my fantasy analysis, and it's not anything to do with numbers. Josh Allen and Dawson Knox are extremely close. Like, they are really tight. And when Josh Allen's the face of your franchise, like, I don't know if I want to, mess with that. And especially because, like, I think Dawson Knox is a good tight end. Is he great? Not yet. I think he could be on the precipice of being, a great tight end. He's on the Kelsey, Mark Andrews tier. I don't think he'll get there. But, like, first of all, when he gets the ball in his hands, like, remember the Bengals game a couple years ago, he stiff arms people. He's tough to bring down, and we've seen him better in the red zone. So I would be happy if they could keep Dawson Knox. I think there was a report, he was in an interview saying he wants to stay here, which I don't blame him. And then Tremaine Edmonds, I feel like Tremaine Edmonds gets a lot of flack, and it's like he captains the defense, but like, is he the best linebacker on the team? No, I think Matt Milano, when healthy, is the best linebacker on the team. But Tremaine Edmonds, again, like, the athleticism he has, he still captains the defense. Does he have some holes in terms of his coverage ability? Sure. But, like, you can pair him with Matt Milano, who's incredible in coverage, and still be fine. So I'm not – for Tremaine Edmonds, like, if they didn't bring him back, I wouldn't be like, oh, what are we doing? This is terrible. But, like, I would also like him back, too. It's just – it's hard when you get attached to all these players, too. It's right. Like I love all the players on this roster. So, of course, I want to see everybody stay.
Right. It's like, keep all the good guys.
Keep all the good guys. Keep all the good players, because we've been I don't care. I've said this to all my friends. I'm in the PA area, so like I'm the only Bills fan, but like I told them, everybody, if that 13 seconds didn't happen, like Buffalo wins the Super Bowl. I don't care what anybody says. They were not losing the Super Bowl.
I think everybody was on board with that. Where are you at on this? Daniel, Richard, thanks guys for stopping in again. Where are you at on this comment here?
Yeah, like I'm super interested in O.J. Howard because he's an incredible prospect coming out of Alabama. It's just he's played with Cameron Brate for a little bit, and then obviously played with Brate and Gronk. I think we're going to definitely see more two tight end sets. I think it'll be, again, O.J. Howard really good after the catch too. And I think production-wise, it's not going to be consistent, but like in the red zone, I mean, inside the 10-yard line, you have Josh on quarterback draws. You have Stephon Diggs with his route running. Gabe Davis has been legitimately an elite touchdown scorer when he's been on the field. And then now you have Knox and O.J. Howard. Like, they're going to be able to do so many different things in the red zone where like O.J. Howard could have like a weird season where he catches like 25 passes, but 6 go for touchdowns, you know?
Yeah, that's kind of what I think is going to happen, right? It's like one of those things that you like, and if Knox goes down, who knows, right? It could change dramatically. I don't think that he would necessarily fill the Knox role per se. I think
he
probably
could fill like 70% of it, 75% of it.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think we would probably roll out a wide receiver a little more often than we probably would, try to make him play that role. But yeah, I'm in agreement with you on the Knox thing. I do not underestimate how much those two guys hang out. Right. Like even when Kyrie Elam was announced at the Sabres game, who was next to Josh Allen when they came walking in? Right. It's Dawson. It's everywhere you see him. It's Dawson Knox. He's with him like all the time. Right. I think that speaks pretty highly. And in the Edmonds deal, I'm in the same boat. I think he could be a phenomenal player. Right. And he's super young and he fills a great role for us. He plays well for us. He tackles.
And what if he hasn't reached his ceiling yet? That's entirely possible. He's still incredibly young.
That's why I think that Jordan Poyer might get sacrificed out of all of this after this season, because they will try to keep Edmonds and they'll try to keep Knox, both the younger players, and try to fill that role at safety in another way. Right. I think that's ultimately what the goal is going to be. I think that's why we haven't done this deal with Jordan already. Is it's just where they know that we're going to end up having to do something like that to make it happen.
If that does happen, I pray they win the Super Bowl this year because Jordan Poyer absolutely deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, that would be all. And I think I agree with that 100%. He deserves to, and I'm glad he's there, and I'm glad he's there. Everything's good and everybody's chatting. There hasn't been any negative vibes about it. There's no, we're not talking. They're not talking. There's none of that stuff, right? So it's nice to see. I think he realizes how important it is as well, right? So where are you at on this, real quick, the Bills kind of on the season total? Where do you think they're going to finish out?
So because I'm so I don't know how you feel. I despise the fact that the Bills are the favorites for Super Bowl this year and that Josh is favorite for MVP just because I'm not used to these high expectations. Their schedule has a combination of rough patches and I don't want to say easy patches, but softer patches, right? They have a stretch where they play New England, Miami. I have zero concerns about New England or the entire division really. But they have some tough games. They play the AFC North this season. I think they win 12 games, but if they won 15, 14, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Top to bottom, they probably have the best roster in the NFL. Maybe the Chargers, you make the argument, have a better roster. But from what the Bills did, and we haven't even talked about Von Miller, but right. I sometimes wake up and remember Von Miller's on the team. When Von Miller was drafted that year, Buffalo picked 5th, right? And Denver picked 4th. And I to this day, I have not wanted a player on a team that I'm a fan of more than I wanted Von Miller on the Bills that year. And my best friend, who's a Broncos fan, they take him right before Buffalo, and I was just distraught. So is he 25-year-old Von Miller? No, but he's so good, and what he's going to do for Gregory Rousseau and Ed Oliver and all these pass rushers is going to be just unbelievable. So I think we haven't had a double-digit sack player in years. A
long time, yeah.
Yeah. So I think Von Miller is going to be massive. So I think the Bills win 12 to 14 games. And, again, with the AFC West being so loaded, hopefully some of those teams just kind of knock each other out because that's the only good thing about the Bills in the AFC. At least they're not in the AFC West or North.
Right. I'm not going to be stunned if the number 1 seed goes to a 4-loss team in the AFC.
Right.
That's not going to shock me by any means, with the way that things are stacked up there at the top. And on your Von Miller piece, I don't know if you saw what Deion Dawkins was saying about him, but Dawkins was basically Jerry Hughes is he's a great player, right? And he's Von's 4 of Jerry.
I know. And
right?
I was hoping they'd bring back Jerry so badly.
I know I love tough. Jerry too, but it's when you think of it like that, right? When your left tackle, who just came off a phenomenal season, is nah, this dude's different. It's exciting. It's super exciting. And that to me just opens things this offense could be on the field so much this year, right? Just so we might run more. It might be better to have the running backs because we might be closing out and just trying to waste so much time.
And with Von, between Von, Ed Oliver, and Gregory Rousseau, he fell in the draft last year because his combine was terrible. We got him at 30th. Gregory Rousseau clearly outplayed that draft spot last year. He was really good. So he's going to get better playing with Von. And if our pass rush is better, it's going to be great for the secondary, and especially if Trey White doesn't open the season healthy. That's going to help so much if Trey White's out. So Von Miller, it was I was shocked when the Bills signed him because I didn't even know we were in consideration. And sure enough, he's now on the Bills, and I couldn't be happier. So I'll go 12 to 14 wins.
I love it. I'm in the same boat. I think we're both shooting at Super Bowl kind of, I don't want to say or bust, but that is kind of the expectation. We should win a Super Bowl. But we're about ready to wrap it up over here for this week. So Adam, you got anything you want to shout out before you get out of here?
No, just appreciate the time. Always fun talking Bills. And I co-host over at FTN Fantasy. It's called the FTN Datacast. It's a fantasy football podcast, record multiple times a week. Actually going to be recording a little bit later today. And you can follow me on Twitter at Pfeifer24 and check out FTN Fantasy for a bunch of fantasy football, fantasy sports in general content. Excited for the season.
Yeah, they covered a little bit of everything over there. Thanks for coming on and spending some time with me, Adam. Make sure you guys do head over to the Hayden Hurst Foundation and check them out, not Hunter Henry, even though he may have one. I'm not talking down about his if he does. Sorry. I do want to shout out my friends over at Leatherhead Sports. They do really cool. You can get custom old school kind of leather footballs built and stuff. If you're a Thanksgiving turkey day kind of family or whatever, you can get your family crest put on there. They make these cool custom balls and stuff. You can check them out in the link down below. Everybody that's been watching and listening, listening in. I appreciate you guys, Daniel, Richard, you guys showing up all the time. Appreciate you guys showing up for the show. And also want to shout out Picasso's Pizza again. The show was presented live by them this week. And of course, go Bills.
Make sure you leave a review and subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll see you next time. Leg out.